Hi, I'm Barbara McRae. Welcome to Littleton Common. I hope that you're having a wonderful summer, but was July a short month, or was it just me? We haven't done anything yet. We had plans, but what happened? I guess we'll have to wait until fall. Have you been saving on gas? Does anyone out there have a hint or a suggestion on how to save money for food, gas, or entertainment? Please feel free to share your ideas with us, and we will include them on our next show. During the last gasoline crisis back in 1973, our family lived in Nebraska. We read about the long lines here in the East, and we're glad we lived where we did. Of course, there weren't large crowds there either. Lots of corn, few cars, so we practically missed the whole crisis. I wonder how it is today. Maybe they are still growing all of that corn to sell for fuel. Or is that out now? Even though we could get gas in Nebraska, you'd have to drive a long way to do any of your shopping or entertainment, not like Littleton, where we have such a variety of things to do. Who needs to spend on gas? For instance, you want breakfast once a month? You can sit by the lake at the Kaliva Club and enjoy the food and the view. Or once a month, the Council on Aging makes breakfast for our senior ladies and also the men's group. We still have farm stands for fresh fruit and vegetables. There are tennis courts, horseback riding, swimming at the lake, skiing at Neshoba Ski in winter or swimming in summer, Fay Park, where Park and Rec hosts concerts for our families, or visit Indian Hill Music for more concerts. There is conservation land, hiking trails, and education at the New England Forestry Foundation at Prouty Woods. And, of course, Kimball's if you'd like to golf or eat those huge Kimball special ice cream sundaes. We still have fairs at our churches, the Littleton Boosters Auction, which will be in September, by the way, the Holiday Fair in December, and never forget, the Council on Aging is upping its activities for our seniors. I am really sure I could have mentioned so much more. But by the way, in case you're not paying attention, notice how I keep including the Council on Aging here and there. Isn't that a long list for such a small town? Be optimistic about living in the country. It's not bad. It's really not a bad place to be. Get out there and use it all. How can you be bored? Now, I told you last month that George Sanders, our new chairman for the Council on Aging, would be visiting our show this month. He is here and wants to tell you some exciting news about what he has been doing the past few weeks.
Thank you, Barbara, for giving me the opportunity to come on the show here and talk a little bit about the Council on Aging. As you well know, the town of Littleton gave us the conservation old room. And this is the room here, and of course it really needed a facelift. And we went through and we painted the walls here. We did a cutoff on the bottom with a different color. And we also changed the carpet in this room as well. And we trimmed off the doors here and also the blackboard back here. So the COA, as a matter of fact, we have some ladies in here playing today. This is primarily known as the ladies' room, I would consider, because we have another room that's called the men's rooms. So here's the area here that they're going to put in a 52-inch television here with a swinging arm so that they can get the maximum utilization for different areas of the room here, that they got different groups that are attending different things in here. And we're also going to have a little refrigerator here, some shelves here, and some coffee here. And you see we got about 20-something chairs here. It has no backs and seats on them. Well, Barbara's got a nice color fabric that has been upholstered, so we're going to have nice, light new chairs here. There'll be some plants in here. There'll be, I believe, some curtains that's going to be in here. And it's just really going to be a nice, warm and cozy room here for the ladies. And I think the men folks are going to have a chance to share a little bit of it over here too. You know, they'll come in every now and then, because we had a couple in here yesterday that was playing. So that's pretty much what has taken place here. I've worked around the clock here almost with 3 people, helped paint this room, and with another individual in the other men's room, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But primarily, we have a nice new room here with new carpet. It has a fresh smell here, and the women really loves to play in this room now. That's pretty much what we have here, and we can move to the other area. Now we're at the men's room over here, which is called the pool room area, where we're going to have table tennis, and we're going to have games over here as well. What this room was known as the former drop-in room for the COA. And when I say drop-in, I really mean drop-in. They dropped everything in over here. Everything you could imagine was dropped in over here. So it was so congested over here, the women folks almost had no room over here to play. So I told Barbara, I said, listen, we're going to give you the other room over there, but at the same time, you got to take everything out of here. So here was cabinet space that they had stored here. I taken that all out, put up another wall here, sheetrock here, to try to cut down the noise level on the other side here where Tina is at. So you can see that needs to be finished, which is prime and paint, and that'll be all the paint that'll be done except for the trim on the door here. Yesterday, the people came up and they put in the pool table. So here is the table. We have also over here 2 additional tables, which has the 6-in-1 game. The centerfold pops out and you just flip them over and you can play different games, chess, I don't know what all games on there, but there's 6 of them that's on there. And we also bought the pool set cube, which has the sticks, has the balls, has the rack, has the brush, has the stand, and also we have a tennis, table tennis, which will fit on top of here. And behind, over here, to this area here, we also have one that's going to be stationary that we're going to put up. And if we want to do a double match or whatever, nobody playing pool, then, you know, you have the opportunity to use this. So here's another room here that really need the uplift. I mean, seriously need the uplift. And we're in the process right now of finalizing this. The paint in here is a teeny little bit different than the San Francisco fog over there because I tinted with another paint to give it this sort of kind of, I consider, a nice color which merges in. Again, new carpet here, and I'll be working here tomorrow. Again, this was one round the clock because we had 2 deadlines. One was to get the carpet in this past Monday, and Thursday was to have the pool table come in. So this pretty much says what has been doing, what I've been doing here, along with a few other citizens here in Littleton, trying to make things available here a little bit better. At any token, whether we had gotten this room over here or not, I would have did this room over. And you'll see a little bit here, some of the stuff that I did in getting this other stuff out. That's pretty much wraps it up here. As you can see, there's stuff out in the room here that in the hallway here. This is stuff that's going to be gotten rid of. It's just a matter of reorganizing here because of the renovation. No place to store it, so we're going through it. This cabinet right here was something that we was built that the town gave us approval to go ahead and build some space out here. So this here is known as the ladies' cabinet down here, where they store all the games and all the goodies over here. And here we have 3 here, and everybody's wondering what's behind door number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. It's like the Price is Right. So here we have stuff that's stored in here that was primarily stored in the other room that's where the pool table is. Pretty much that's what we've been at, and that's what we've been doing, and I'm pleased with the progress that has been made in a short period of time here. On the 14th of August, we're going to have an open house here at the COA. It'll be 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. The morning will probably start at 11 o'clock, and the evening will start at 5 o'clock to like 7 o'clock. We have some hors d'oeuvres there. We encourage everyone to come out and see really for yourself as to what has taken place here with the COA. And I thank each and every one of you that comes and participate here daily.
And remember, call our office at the council if you're not getting the newsletter. We want you to be well informed about activities here because we want you to come in and check out the new look and the new pool table. We've heard that some of you are a bit concerned about the age you have to be to participate in the council's activities. Our work-off program includes 60-year-olds. AARP needs members, so they brought the age down to 50 or 55. For most benefits from the government, you have to be 65. So whatever your age, come in and look around. If you have the time, stay and play with us. There is that old saying, the more, the merrier. Don't think we wouldn't enjoy the more, and especially the merrier. Every month, Carolyn Harlow gives you the name of the book of the month club is reading. The group would like to have more members to discuss the books they read. It never hurts to have a good, old, lively conversation and different opinion about what a book does for you. Carolyn and Priscilla would love for you to take part in that hour. And here's Carolyn to ask you to join them. What's the book this month, Carolyn?
Well, Barbara, the book this month is going to be Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. And this book is a fantastic book. It tells all about a young man who was going to go into the veterinary world. He loses both of his parents and takes to the tracks because the bank takes his house. And so a lot of you who may be experiencing your house being taken might really like this book and relate to it. Anyway, you may not all want to hit the tracks and the trains, but this is a great story about circus life. And once it grabs you, you can't put this book down. I represent the Council on Aging Book Club. My name is Carolyn Harlow, and Priscilla Lehman wasn't able to make it today, but she is our president. The book club meets on the second Wednesday of the month. The next meeting is on August 13th from 10 o'clock to 12. We meet in the library. All you have to do is come in and say, I'm with the book club, and they'll direct you to us. We have our own little private sanctuary. It's an adorable room in the fiction section. So do come and join us. We need more members, and we love to have everybody's ideas about authors and books. And we talk about this one book, but then since we all like to read, we have other books that we share with members, and we all keep a little notebook. We don't have to if you don't want to, but it's a good way to remind yourself of what you've read. So don't forget, come join us in the Council on Aging Book Club, August 13th from 10 to 12 in the library, and I'll see you there. Meanwhile, read a great book.
Thank you, Carolyn. I hope you didn't miss the barbecue at the diner in July. Gail Dalton tries to make sure you have a good meal and a good time here at the Council Diner. And here's Gail. So, hi Gail, what's happening this month?
Well, for the month of August, we're going to be having the Concord Healthcare is coming in on August 7th for the Women's Breakfast, and they're also coming in on August 21st, that's a Thursday, for a free lunch. And Sandy Brown, who was our liaison, clinical liaison for Concord Healthcare, who provided the food and has moved on to nursing, so full-time. So we're going to have Amy Fletcher come down. So I think she's been here a couple of times, so people should know her. And on August 20th, it's a Wednesday, that will be the men's breakfast. So hopefully we can get everyone to come out for these events and have a good time.
Thank you, Gail.
Bye, Barbara.
Tina Mader, the outreach coordinator, said the August Living Alone group is planning a fun meeting because they are sharing their hobbies, designing on a dime from the thrift shops and yard sales, and also hints on cake decorating. That meeting will be on Thursday, August 14th at 10:30 in the morning. It's a cool place to be in August in the heat, so plan to stay and afterwards go to the diner for lunch. Call 978-486-0183 and leave Tina your name and that you're coming. The group is growing and really enjoy each other's company. So call now. Remember, 486-0183. Evan Theophilakis will be back in September with a full list of what is happening at Indian Hill. There is no concert in August, so don't pack a lunch and go over there. But you'll have to wait for September. We are happy to announce that joining our show this month is Lynn Lyford from New England Forestry Foundation at Prouty Woods. Like Evan Thea, who does the update from Indian Hill, Lynn will keep us in touch with the latest news from her neck of the woods.
Hi, Barbara. It's a pleasure to be here today and to have this opportunity to talk to you. And welcome to Prouty Woods. Prouty Woods is the headquarters of the New England Forestry Foundation here in Littleton, right off Route A on Foster Street, next door to the firehouse. And for those of you who don't know what a wonderful resource Prouty Woods is, it's a 107-acre community forest, open to the public, free of charge, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. People come to Prouty Woods for a nice Sunday stroll. They come and bring their dogs, or they bring their children and go down to Long Lake. There are trails throughout Prouty Woods, and many of them connect with the Littleton Conservation Trust trails. So we hope that your viewers will come and discover Prouty Woods for themselves.
Thank you, Lynn. We'll see you next month.
Bye-bye.
And the number there is 952-6856. The explorers are off to the Lowell Canal Tour in August, on August 26th. Remember, it's open only to 10 people if we take the van, so sign up early. Cost is $11 for the tour, $5 for the van, and lunch is at your own expense. Have you been on this tour? It just sounds wonderful. Just sounds great. So call Barbara Cam at 486-4360 and reserve your seat. And by the way, we will be raising the prices for the van in September. Not for this particular tour, but after that. The prices are going to be going up because the hike in gas prices is affecting everything we do every day, and we're sorry about that. August 19th, we're joining Westford for our trip to the Bill Foster Lobster Bake. You can find out more about that by calling the Council on Aging office, and that's at 952-2362. And remember that the Council on Aging office is now open from 8:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. Again, the number, 952-2362. It's August, and it's time for the Thrift Shop's $3 a bag sale. Notice how house prices are falling, taxes are rising, gas is out of sight. But our thrift shop prices are still within your budget. We can't sell any cheaper and don't intend to raise the prices, at least not now when you need us. So come in and look around. Fill a few $3 a bag, for your sale and enjoy the goods. Winter clothes will be on the racks in September, and as usual, we will have a fabulous selection. Get there early, because our sales ladies always enjoy seeing new customers and the regulars. Why don't you come in and meet Pat Crory, Delia, Pat Nelson, Ellen Arugio, Gail Matrano, Dean Butterfield, Susan Walensky, and our dear, dear Jenny Thomas. Now please stay with us for our guests this month, Cheryl Crowley of Crowley Real Estate, and attorney Sheri Gould from Gould Attorney at Law Offices. And we're going to talk about what is happening to the American dream, the real estate market, and maybe what you can do or maybe something you don't know. So for all of us here on Community Television Channel 8, thanks for watching, but don't forget to hug a senior. Hi. We're hearing more and more about home foreclosures all over the country. But for some, the American dream has become a nightmare. So what's happening here in Littleton? Well, today I have with me Cheryl Crowley of Crowley Real Estate, and I have Sheri Gould from Gould Law Offices, and we're going to ask them to kind of enlighten us about what's going on in our own hometown. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Hello, Barbara.
I'm so glad that you're here today, and I've really become a little bit concerned about what, you can't help it. You're watching television and you're seeing what's happening to the economy and the whole country. So I started thinking about Littleton, and I decided that I would have you come over here and help us out a little bit. Tell us a little bit about, what's going on in our town about, housing. We have a credit crisis and it's deepening, so, but are we hopeful about the housing market here? So.
The real estate market in Littleton is alive and well. We have seen some depreciation in properties, but it's not dramatic. And for the most part, properties are selling and doing quite well.
Oh. So you think that Littleton looks good so far?
Littleton looks great. Real estate's always kind of goes in cycles. You have periods of great growth and value, but then it corrects itself, and it will slow down a little bit and dip down in price a little bit, and then it comes back again. The last time we had a major price correction was in the late 80s and early 90s, and a lot of the towns around really did take quite a bit of a beating, you'd say. For example, Lexington had a tremendous drop. Concord, not so much. Acton, not quite as much. Littleton got off very lightly and recovered amazingly quickly. One of the nice things about Littleton is the fact we have those noisy highways going through town. It makes us a great commuter location, and we have good school system, and we have lots of good businesses and support services in town. Look what's happening with the new IBM building going right in the center. So all these things help keep the values of Littleton fairly steady. Now, if you bought in the last 3 years and you didn't pay and you didn't shop as hard as you might have, and you need to sell all of a sudden quick, you can lose some money. But there are ways to even buffer that.
Well, I've heard that there's a federal legislation bill that Congress passed, and it's to help Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Okay, but who is this helping, and is there any help in Littleton?
There's a little misconception and a lot of confusion about that bill, Barbara, and I'm not the economist that would be required to explain what that's all about. But there's probably 3 major segments of the population who are intended to be helped by the bill. One would be the consumer, the person who's got a mortgage that they can't really get out of. One would be the investors in the stock market who have invested in these mortgage products. And then the other would be the people, like you say, in Littleton. I think the bill is primarily aimed at helping the investors in the stock market and not the little person who's going to lose their home. But I think the byproduct of the bill is going to be positive for all of us, because I think that what it will do is it will stop any panic that there's going to be a run on banks because the investments have gone bad. I think that's key, and that's primary. I also think what it's going to do is make available new mortgage money, and ideally and hopefully that will trickle down to the people who need it at rates that are pretty stable to what they've been, rather than have the rates skyrocket. And hopefully people that are in houses that they can't afford because they've got adjustable mortgages, not because they've got cash flow problems, hopefully those people will be helped with refinancing possibilities.
But it won't help if your house is already in foreclosure, right?
There is some talk that there will be money available for people whose homes are in foreclosure, but I think that people need to distinguish whether they're in foreclosure because their cash flow never was adequate for the mortgage that they're in, or whether they're in foreclosure because their adjustable rate has gone higher and their value has gone lower, and basically they're stable people who have always had stable histories. We just need to figure out who's who here. Some people shouldn't be in their homes because they bought above their means.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Of course, it looked good at the time,
That's
you know,
right.
and you can't help it. Sometimes you want a little more. It's really funny because this reminds me now of, you know, the days when people had small houses. You had 2 or 3 children, but you had maybe a 2-bedroom house because the children slept in the same room, and you had maybe a 4-room house for that matter. And then all of a sudden now we need like 20 rooms or whatever for 2 children. Yeah.
House sizes have been appreciating, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
But Sheri touched on a very good point. Most of the foreclosures and major problems that people are seeing are the people that got caught in these adjustable rate mortgages. Rate mortgages that, you know, had an introductory rate, and credit cards do the same thing to people.
Right.
That had an introductory rate of, say, 4.5%. And you could defer the PMI payments for 2 years, etc. And you know, if the market's appreciating constantly, then you can refinance it or sell it and get some gain, and you're okay. You know, but if the market's not appreciating, if the market's stable, and you've bought into this mortgage, the adjustable rate, the 2 years go by, suddenly you're paying the PMI payments that you didn't pay before. Suddenly the rate has jumped up from 4% to maybe 8% because the banks want to make that money back. And suddenly you're in a position where you can't pay that mortgage payment. And you can't sell your house for enough money to pay all your expenses, plus the lack of the equity that you've built up and all the things going on, then you're in a bind.
Right, right. And then you're in a bind to find a place to live, too.
Barbara, you also touched on something that's very important. You said in the old days we stayed in smaller houses and we kept our families close. One of the problems in the economy today, I think, is that people want what they want when they want it now.
Right.
And we don't have the patience we used to have to save or to build towards something.
You're right.
So people did keep refinancing their homes and taking the equity out and taking imagined equity out because it was appreciation that was artificial.
Right.
But for those people who started on a steady trend and who have some savings, who are in adjustable mortgages, there is relief, there is help, and it's not a dismal picture at all.
That's what I'm looking for, because you can listen to all this, you know, on the news, and it bothered me. I was thinking about senior citizens and, you know, what could happen to them. I mean, because of being a senior citizen and also being with senior citizens, you know, you're hearing that someone say just the other day, "Ooh, the fuel prices are going up. I can't afford my house."
And if you can't, you need to talk to someone. You should not be living in a cold house.
That's true.
You should, you know, there are alternatives out there. There are programs for heating fuel, but also, you know, there are other options. Maybe if you're living in a 3-bedroom ranch and you're a senior couple, you know, maybe it's time to give up that 3-bedroom ranch and think about some of the lovely new little condos in Littleton that, you know, that maybe have a shared septic system, but their own yard. You can still have your garden. You know, there are alternatives. Also, you know, there are ways to save your house or save your equity. There are things you can do.
Well, what I'm worried about, you know, you just mentioned something that makes me worry, that my house wouldn't sell for what I'm going to have to pay for a condo. And I mean, this is this is not happening to me, I'm just using myself as an example, but I'm saying, you know, if I were to sell my house and I wanted a condo, now I'm worried, will my house sell for what a new condo is going to cost, you know, because I'm elderly.
I'd like to maybe jump in on that one. There's a lot of options for seniors, and I do some elder law, and I see seniors a lot. So we've explored them all.
Good.
So you're right. The condo market is not for everyone. And not only are you talking about the problem of maybe not having enough money to trade even,
Right.
but with a condo market, you're talking about an ongoing monthly condominium fee.
Yeah, that's true.
In addition to taxes. So that's not the answer for everyone, although it is for some. There are other options in Littleton. We have a very liberal in-law apartment bylaw. And under our bylaw, I don't know if anybody remembers the wonderful planning board member who wrote the bylaw. He was very committed to this town. Under that bylaw, he put in that there only needs to be a functional dependency. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a family member. If the elder person thinks that they need someone to live within the household who might be a college student but is there to take care of them,
Oh, okay.
then an in-law apartment might be approved for that particular family.
Yeah.
There are assisted living options. We have some lotteries going on right now in some of these over 55 developments where the entry level under the lottery is $160,000 purchase price. That's half of what the market is calling for right now on these units, and certainly one could downsize into that.
Yeah.
There's also apartment living. We have some wonderful options for assisted living or senior housing here in Littleton. There's some nice projects. But sometimes the answer is going in with family and figuring out a way that the family makes it a global solution.
Yeah, I like that. That's another old-fashioned
That's right.
thing
That's
that
right.
that does work. I mean, for some people, and worked for, and happened to work for me with my mother. But
We do see adult children selling their properties and moving back with their parents also.
yeah,
That has been happening also. We've had a couple of cases of that where people were actually selling their house and going to take a couple years off from owning a property
Right.
and move back in with their parents.
hey, there's always a solution, and these sound like good ones. You know, I wanted to get back here with the, you know, we probably discussed it. I'm trying to remember right now about how you would know that you're in trouble and that could be next on a foreclosure list, and how does the bank or mortgage company decide that they will foreclose? And of course, I imagine it's because you haven't been paying, or you're very, very late with your payments. But what about that?
Foreclosures, fortunately, are not that high in Littleton.
Good.
So a couple of market factors are at work, and probably one of them is that we're a little more rural around here and committed to those old values of not overextending into our homes, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But how do you know you're in trouble? The basic formula for people in trouble is almost always the same. People are living off credit because they're living beyond their means.
Right.
They then consolidate their credit card debt into a refinance of their home or a second mortgage or an equity line. Then they find themselves with two mortgages, not just one, maybe a job loss, maybe a tick in the economy, and that's when the trouble starts. So I think your early warning sign of trouble is that if you're living off your credit cards, and that's the earliest warning sign there is. If you're doing that, I would recommend to anyone, don't consolidate your credit card debt into home mortgage instruments without coming to see a lawyer right away, because there are so many other options for getting rid of credit card debt without using the equity in your home.
Good.
And then the second problem, or the second early warning sign, will be if your mortgage payments are being skipped. Because in the scheme of things, the most important monthly payment that you ever have is your house.
Right.
When I was a kid, my father used to say the only three things certain in life are death, mortgage interest, and taxes. So your house is the first bill you should be paying.
Right.
And if it's not your first bill being paid, you're in trouble.
Exactly.
Then after 3 months, you'll get the lovely notice from the bank that they're not going to wait any longer. And of course, before that time, long before that time, you should see a counselor, an attorney, a credit counseling service, maybe your your real estate broker to determine if your house is saleable. But certainly, when you get the first notice from the bank, don't ignore it.
You know, I wonder about that. I wonder how many people think about going to a counselor, a lawyer, someone, a credit card.
They don't think about it. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons is they're already feeling in financial trouble, and lawyers seem expensive.
Yeah.
But they don't realize the amount of money the lawyer will save them will
in the end.
more than make it worthwhile. One of the things that a lawyer can do that real estate brokers are very happy about is arrange a short sale if it needs to be done. For example, if your house is worth $300,000 and you have a mortgage of it of say $270, and then you have additional debt on top of that, as equity line, a second mortgage, or something of another $40,000. Suddenly you owe $310 on your house.
Yeah.
How can you possibly begin to afford it? A real estate broker fee, the taxes involved, any of those things. If we can get you to a lawyer, they can work with the mortgage company, because the mortgage company really doesn't want to foreclose. It costs them a fortune.
Right.
They would much rather be able to work through a deal. You got to be careful, though. You really got to get a lawyer to watch and make sure the debt, it doesn't attach, that you lose on your house, doesn't attach to you personally once the house is sold, and the lawyer can take care of that. And you got to have a lawyer negotiating with the banks. Real estate brokers really can't do that.
Okay, I think another thing that I'm thinking of is people are embarrassed.
Oh, they are.
I think that's
I think that they don't want to go, they don't want anyone to know this is happening. Maybe next month I can pay. Maybe, okay, I can't do that. Maybe the next month. And then they're turning around and saying, who do I see?
Barbara, the worst dilemma on what you raised is not only are people embarrassed to speak to a professional, but in many homes they're embarrassed to speak to their loved one, their spouse, their children, someone, their parents, someone who might be able to step in and assist them.
Right.
And I see an awful lot of cases where husband or wife will say, the other one was doing the bills, I had no idea they weren't paid. And that's the sad part to me, because in those cases, your financial difficulties are jeopardizing your marriage.
Yes.
And they don't need to. If we can solve the financial problem, you have a chance to work on your marriage.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I understand, that applying for bankruptcy doesn't help.
That's not the case, and I think people should consult an attorney early in the game, because a bankruptcy is the most effective way of helping. First of all, to avoid consolidating your credit card debt, and second of all, the bankruptcy immediately stops anybody from calling you or harassing you or coming to your door or foreclosing on you. And the very relief from the phone calls is a respite. Then the lawyer gets the lender to negotiate at the level of avoiding foreclosure, rather than the lender calling and haranguing the customer, the mortgagor, who probably is helpless.
Yeah. Again, probably embarrassed to do this.
Yeah.
But, you know, in order to save your life, your home, your family, you just should look into all of these things.
That's true.
I mean, it's...
A foreclosure can save your, a bankruptcy can save your house. Sometimes the lawyers can manage to do that.
I just want a plug on bankruptcies, and I tell this to all my clients. Bankruptcy was termed the Debtor Relief Act, Barbara. Bankruptcy was never intended to be the Be Embarrassed Act.
Right.
And it goes back as far as Judeo-Christian law that said that we're supposed to give debtors relief from debts that extend so long or so hard that they can't pay them.
Yeah.
So bankruptcy is really a comfort, and people should think of it as a comfort and not as a embarrassment.
Really, I know, because sometimes you just cannot help it.
That's right.
Someone has lost a job, you know, or is ill and can't get to work. And so you've missed the payments on all these things. So again, look into it at least. Don't let anybody...
Medical bills can pile up on people.
Sure. Okay, so we're finding that the values have dropped, and again, your house could be on the market a long time.
A properly priced house isn't going to spend a lot of time on the market. One of the biggest problems that we've seen, and they seem to get the most publicity, of course. You know, you always hear about the problems. You never hear, you know, the good stories aren't as much fun to tell.
Oh, yeah, right.
And so there are people who overprice their houses, and probably part of the fault is a real estate broker who really wants that listing. And you know, the people want this much money for their house, and the real estate broker wants the listing, and okay, well, we'll try that much, we'll list it for that much, but if it doesn't sell, then we're going to have to revisit it.
Okay.
As you know, and okay, they list it for that much. In the meantime, if the market's dropping, they've already started out overpriced. You know, 3 months later or 2 months later, they revisit the price. The people say, oh, we've dropped it 5%. Well, while they've dropped it 5%, maybe the market's dropped 5%, and they're still 5% over market value, and their house isn't selling. So, you know, that's a really bad cycle you can get into if you start off with your house overpriced and in a declining market, never quite catch up to the decline. A properly priced house, a realistically priced house, are selling relatively quickly. The average sale time in Littleton for the past 3 years has been 146 days. Okay, so that's not quite, what, 4 months? It's between 3 and 4 months.
That's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
No, and that's for both 4-bedroom, the $500,000 properties, and the $200,000 and $300,000 properties. You know, you get some extremes when you have something very unusual, such as a real fixer-upper with waterfront. You know, that, you know, so the house is kind of a tear down, but you want the value of the waterfront, and so you know, you might get some real extremes that take a little bit longer, but you don't, you know, for the most part.
Where is that house, as a matter of fact? I'm after it. I like that fixer-up stuff.
That was an example.
People should consider
I'm
also using the resources of a real estate broker. I know that in Cheryl's case, they're very willing to go over and give you a free market opinion without any obligation, and then you would get an idea of where your house stands. I've used Cheryl's services in the past, and she's very good at staging a house for sale, telling you what you ought to do to fix it up or spruce it up and get it saleable.
That's another thing. There are a couple of things that if you want to sell your house and minimize the time it's on market, you really need to do. One of the most important things is the basement. You want a clean, dry, mildew-free smelling basement.
Wow.
That's important. And the smells of your house are very important to people.
Right.
And there are a couple of tricks that you can, I shouldn't call them tricks.
No.
There are a couple of
presentations.
Items that you can, thank you, that you can use that really help, such as, for example, waste electricity. It sounds awful, but when you know your house is being shown, turn every light in the house on, even on a bright sun, especially on a bright sunny day. Because people are walking in out of a bright sunny day into a house, it looks dark. No matter how bright and sunny that house is in comparison to outside, it takes their eyes a little bit of time to adjust. And first impressions are everything. So have every light in the house on, have all the shades up, you know, make sure your house smells good. You know, this is not, you know, if you know your house is being shown at 10 o'clock, let's not fry sardines in the morning or kippers or whatever, you know. Let's be cognizant.
The old cinnamon sticks are out.
Oh, actually put the little drop of vanilla in that little Pyrex dish and stick it in the oven. It doesn't hurt. I had one house sell amazingly quickly. Anytime the woman knew that the house was being shown, she would make homemade granola, which cooks at a very low temperature in her oven for hours.
Wow.
And it just smelled fabulous.
Yeah. I would buy a house if they had basil.
There we go.
You know, a little basil, a little oregano, stuff like that.
But those are some things you can do in neutral colors, freshening paint. You know, just try to. It's sometimes having a professional in to take a look, because when you live somewhere, you just don't see it. You know, your eyes sort of gloss over it, or what's important to you may not be what a person in general would see first when they walked into your house.
Well, you know, I'm looking at the fact that prices are dropping, and so, I mean, maybe not in Littleton because we're special, but you know, you may owe more than your house is worth. You're going to sell your house. You've done all these great things to make it look better, but you know,
If you do, then you need to talk about a short sale.
Okay.
And there are ways, and you look at it and you say, oh, how could I possibly pay a real estate broker's commission in a short sale? And I got to tell you, the mortgage companies will pay it. And wrap it into the short sale because they realize the real estate broker is going to get the house sold for more money than otherwise.
The short sale process involves asking the lender, the bank, to take less money than they're due, than they're owed, and saying to the bank, look, at the market has fallen, the price has fallen, I need to sell the house, I'm in trouble. And usually the banks are very willing to talk about this and to accept this. The short sale involves a lot of paperwork and a lot of documentation, and it's pretty critical to have a lawyer or a broker help you with it. Usually it needs a lawyer because you have to actually create a hypothetical closing statement to show the bank exactly what they're going to get, and to prove to the bank that the borrower isn't taking any money from that transaction. But also, the short sale is essential to have negotiated that the bank won't come after the borrower later for what they forgave. And it's done frequently. The banks are really willing to work with people if people will use the resources available to work with the banks.
Well, I feel like we're going back to the future because of, the in-law apartments and the smaller houses maybe, and maybe even boarders. Do you think that we'll have more apartments now?
So our zoning bylaws are fairly tight in Littleton.
Okay.
And we're getting right up to the level of, Sheri knows more about this, right up to the level of the required low-income housing. What percentage are
We're supposed to be at 10% to be able to pick and choose and not be forced to accept affordable housing dense options. We're almost at that level, so our affordable housing projects have stopped coming in. The requests for them have stopped coming in. But there's apartments, there's plenty of rentals out there.
That's what I wondered too, like smaller apartments, maybe in homes. And
Well, that's also an option for a person who can't necessarily can afford their mortgage, but can't necessarily sell their house for what they owe on it. If they could, and they have to move, they could rent their house for a year or two. I got to tell you, I spent a lot of time this morning going back and looking up hard data on how markets are, the Littleton particularly market is responding. And the last 12-month segment over the previous 12-month segment actually showed an increase in price.
Cool.
So if you can, I'm not saying the market's turned around. I'm not saying that all the real estate woes are gone.
Right.
But on the other hand, if you can hang in there a year or two, you might be better off.
Yeah, hopefully. And that's the thing, hanging in there.
If you don't need to sell your house right now, you might not want to. On the other hand, if you are ready to move up, if you're financially solvent, you're in great shape, and you've had that third child, and you have a 2-bedroom house, and gosh, you really need a 4-bedroom house because you don't want little Johnny and Susie sharing a room anymore.
Right.
And you're ready to move up, this is a great time to do it. Though you take depreciation on your smaller house, in percentage-wise, the depreciation you're going to get, the bargain you're going to get on the larger house is a great deal. You're going to get, you're going to get, so if you held your house, maybe, your smaller house, talk around numbers, maybe you get $20,000 more in a couple years, but you might pay $50,000 more for that larger house. So now might be a really good time. I can't say these numbers. I can't guarantee the future, of course, and things go in cycles.
It sounds good. Would they be able to get a loan that easily?
If they are financially solvent, they have good equity, they can put 20% down, they have, they have good steady jobs, then yeah, people are getting mortgages no problem.
Wow.
It's the people with iffy credit, who don't have 20% down, who are buying the first-time starter houses, that we're seeing some challenges in buying, in the market. I don't want to get into details of specific houses.
I think this is a temporary lull. I think that, like any overcorrection, we had a terrible sin performed by the subprime market. And that's caused everybody to pull back and say, wait a minute, we were too free with lending money to too many people who shouldn't have been in housing yet. And so we've pulled back, and the overcorrection is going to take a little while, not long.
Right.
I suspect it'll level out, as it always does, Barbara. I'm not dismal about this at all.
Right.
And you ask about how people can hang in there if they need to for another year, to wait for the overcorrection to stop, to wait for the market to get a little better. Frankly, in Littleton, when IBM opens its doors, we're going to see a tremendous relief from this market. We're very grateful that the selectmen have made IBM possible, and we're all enthusiastic about that.
Great.
Changing the economy here for everyone, businesses and everything.
Yeah.
But one way to hang in there is people should know that the options are available to negotiate with lenders for some relief. Sometimes a lender will let you pay interest only. Sometimes a lender will let you skip as many as 6 months of payments if you're in a temporary crisis because of health issues or job loss. And those things are available. I do want to remind people that don't know this, that if your home was built before the enactment of the zoning bylaw in Littleton, which is around 1951-ish, you have an absolute right to ask for your home to be converted to a two-family. And people aren't aware of that, but that's often a relief for elders and people who have owned their homes for a number of years.
Yeah, that's good, because again, I'm thinking about senior citizens too, who might have lived here for a long, long time, you know, the real townies, and you know, they need a little relief. Yeah, I like that idea. So, do you think that we've given a good broad view of what is going on here in Littleton? Because right now I still feel good about living in Littleton.
You should.
I haven't wanted to move yet.
The American dream is alive and well in Littleton.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, we're not perfect. We have some little things we need to watch for and be mindful of in our town, and it's really important that we keep good school systems. I can't emphasize how important a school system is to the value of a property, and how much it affects it, and affects how people who are willing to move into a town. Plus, you know, you need to keep your services up and trying to keep taxes down. The whole thing's a balancing act, but we're doing a good job.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we are. Like I said, I feel good about the town. I keep trying to emphasize to people that there's so much around us to do, even, that is good for our town, you know. And so try to keep your houses, you know, try to keep your life together. I know it's hard right now, but you know, just work at it. And then you found out today that we have places to go to find out what to do if we're in trouble. And don't be embarrassed. That's the big word right now. Don't be embarrassed. Talk to somebody. Talk to someone and find out.
Yeah, there's always someone who's done worse than you.
Yeah, in everything in life, you know, there's someone worse off, right? But okay, I want to thank you, Cheryl, and you, Sheri,
for
coming here today to be with me and
thank you,
give us a little insight into what's going on in Littleton, and enlightening us, I guess I should say, because I hope someone got something out there from it, you know, even one person, it means a lot. But so, you know, we'll check with you again, maybe in a few months or a year, and see what's happened. Really, I mean, this would be good, because we would know.
Well, I hope some of you listeners check with us sooner than that.
Yeah, right. I'll check with you in a year, but they can check with you before that.
Give us a call.
Yeah.
Give your neighborhood broker a call. A local attorney. Sheri's lovely, and certainly, you know, give us a call. We can help.
Yeah.
We can. There are ways around problems and issues. That's the bottom line.
Right.
And the people and the problems out there aren't going to be the worst or the first time we've seen them, by any means.
Yeah. Good. Well, again, thank you so much, and I want to tell everyone out there, thank you for watching, and we'll be looking for you next time. But until then, make it a good August.